Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the heat wave that has arrived across the British Isles today. Many areas into the high 20s for the peak temperatures today, and that will only rise further over the coming days, with temperatures from Wednesday to Sunday looking widely into the low 30s, and some regions could even get into the mid 30s and even possibly 36, 37, or even a couple of areas maybe 38 degrees on the hottest model. So very, very hot conditions coming. Looks like 7 straight days of heat wave conditions for widespread areas. There does look like there could be signs of a breakdown a week today, but we're not going to be able to have a look at that in too much detail as it's still 7 days out. So if you are interested in thunderstorms, rain potentially coming in a week's time, do make sure you keep an eye on the videos coming out later this week, perhaps Wednesday, Thursday time, where we'll start to have a look at that precipitation risk into next week. But for the time being, it's incredibly hot, oppressively hot, temperatures in widely into the low to mid 30s throughout this week into the weekend. So as I said, please make sure you stay safe out there. And today we're going to have a look at all the various models, looking at what those temperatures are doing this week, and of course the pressure and upper air temperatures over the next couple of weeks as well, looking at the longer term. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So do start on the live radar. You can see it is pretty much bone dry across most areas. A few areas of precipitation across northern parts of Scotland, and that is expected. We have said that. Weather front's trying to push in, but the main area of high pressure centred over England and Wales is just giving widely very warm, hot, dry conditions. You can see across most of northwest Europe it is very dry at the moment. Now, if we do put those temperatures on, it's just before 4 p.m, so we are reaching the peak temperature today, and you can see these red colours. Those are the temperatures into the mid to high 20s. A couple spots perhaps hitting 30 degrees today. We'll have a look at the latest high temperatures as of 3 p.m. The latest high is 29.8 degrees, but we could still eclipse that at 4 p.m. So, yeah, uncertain whether we are going to officially reach 30 degrees today, but widely around that 27 to 29 degree mark. So very, very hot, and you can see it's only going to get hotter over the next couple of days, and it's the widespread warmth and heat that is very exceptional with this. The bullseye temperatures, as we have been saying over the last couple days, are generally going to be in the West Midlands, parts of South Wales, Oxfordshire through southwest England, all the way even down to parts of Cornwall as well. And the reason for this is because of the high pressure. We are getting a bit of an easterly flow. Now, although the North Sea is very warm, we're sort of almost getting towards the warmest time of the year for sea surface temperatures. In fact, it's still a lot cooler than surface, high teens really for those surface temperatures, and it just means that the air right at the surface is slightly cooler further eastwards, and you can see that near Norwich it's slightly cooler towards the coast, and then warms up towards London, Cambridgeshire, these sort of areas where we generally see the peak temperatures in these sort of heat waves, but only when the winds are from the south. And because it's easterly, it means the hottest temperatures are going to be shifted further westwards. So if you are in this zone of the West Midlands, through west of London, through the M4 line, down into the southwest and central southern England, there we're going to be seeing the bullseye conditions with temperatures likely into the mid-30s later this week. So if we do look at the temperatures, these are the max temperatures from Net Weather. You can see Charlwood at 3 p.m. reached 29.8 degrees, Heathrow 29.2, Northolt 29. So all these stations getting above 29 degrees. And of course, there only are a limited number of weather stations, and many more areas would have likely reached these temperatures as well. They just don't have a weather station there. So these are the official weather stations at the moment. And of course, we don't have the 4 p.m. temperatures in. But if we did, there is still a possibility some regions could climb to that 30 degree point. Generally, the temperatures do peak in around that 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. point. So we'll have to look at the 4 p.m. temperatures later. So if you are interested to see if we do officially reach 30 degrees on a official weather station, do come over to Net Weather and have a look later. And this will probably update around 4:30, 5 p.m. for all of the 4 p.m. temperatures. But yeah, so far widely 27 to 29 degrees. Perhaps even touching 30 degrees. So yeah, incredibly warm, hot conditions, and it is, as I said, only going to get hotter over the coming days. Now, if you move over and have a look at the UKV run, the UK Met Office UKV run, look at precipitation temperature, we'll be able to whiz through the precipitation very quickly, and there really is not much going on over the next 5 days. You can see there is some precipitation to northern Scotland, as we saw on the live radar, but it really is nothing too much. It's going to continue to just come and go, giving a bit of precipitation here or there, but a lot of the time it is going to actually be pretty bone dry. Thursday could see some more precipitation push in, but still looking pretty much bone dry for the whole British Isles. And it's not, it is pretty oppressive out there. It is going to be quite severe, just the longevity of this. Now, of course, in July we saw 40.3 degrees, but that only lasted 2 or 3 days, so we saw that high or mid to high 30s into the 40s. This can last 7 days of mid 30s, and it's the longevity of this which could cause issues. Of course, a couple of days of dehydration is bad, but 7 days is a lot worse, and that's where we could start to see people getting into issues later this week into the weekend after a good few days of quite moderately oppressive heat. As I said, it's not record-breaking. We're not getting temperatures into the high 30s, 40 degrees. We could break regional records in a few spots. Again, I'm not clued in too much on what those exactly are, but there is the possibility there. But it's not record-smashing this, But it, as I said, it can still cause some disruption, especially with wildfires. I do suspect there's going to be some big issues this week with wildfires. So if you are planning to have a barbecue or whatever, please make sure to do it in a safe manner. And if your local authorities have recommended you not to do it, please don't do it. It's not worth the risk. We're going to see more summer weather, hopefully after some rain in the next couple of weeks, and then you can have some barbecues, or to wait, unfortunately, to next summer, because it is really dangerous with the fires that can be spreading around at the moment. Of course, if you are smoking as well, make sure you do put out the cigarette butts appropriately as well. We want to make sure that we're not seeing unnecessary damage just from some mistakes. So if we do have a look at the temperatures now for this heat wave. Now we can only have a look at the next 5 days from the UKV run. You can see the max temperature this afternoon getting around that 28-29 degrees, so pretty well modelled from the UKV. For today's temperatures, as I saw earlier, the peak temperature was 29.8 degrees so far today, and that's what the UKV was predicting at 3 p.m, 28-29 degrees in those bullseye areas. As we run through to tomorrow, it does look like very similar, if not slightly hotter, more widely 28 and touching 28, 29 and touching on 30 degrees in a few spots widely. As I said, mid to high 20s. And on Wednesday, it really starts to ramp up again. Widely 29, 30 degrees, perhaps 31 or 32. So each day is just getting slightly hotter. And by Thursday, widely 30, 31, locally 32, 33 or even 34. We could be seeing 30 degrees in every nation in the British Isles. Scotland seeing potentially 30 degrees. Wales, England, parts of Republic of Ireland and even Northern Ireland could get very close. And by Friday, very similar conditions, widely back into the mid-30s, 32 to 34 degrees. And as I saw, the UKV was very right with the temperatures today. So looks like Friday, 33, 34, maybe even local 35 or 36. Incredible heat. And I have seen some people talking about this. This would be a pretty memorable heat wave, but considering the summer we've had so far, not hearing too much hype about this so far. It is looking likely these sort of temperatures in the low to mid 30s, which would make headlines 10, 20 years ago, now sort of standard. We've seen this most summer, and it is pretty ridiculous the streak we're going on at the moment with incredibly hot temperatures, and this is the second time this summer we've seen these sorts of conditions. Yeah, truly exceptional. And if we do run onto the GEM, see what that is showing, you can see again today, widely 27, 28, so a degree below what we've seen in reality, so we have to take that into account over the next couple of days on this run as well. You can see Tuesday widely into 28, 29, so you could probably add a degree to that, 30, maybe 31. By Wednesday, again, 29, 30. So it does look like it's tracking about a degree behind the UKV, and today a degree behind the reality as well. So yeah, it definitely looks like perhaps 31, maybe 32 on Wednesday. Into Thursday, widely into the low 30s, 30, 31, 32. So in reality, 33, maybe 34. And as we head towards Friday, 32, maybe 33 or 34 again. Now, the UKV couldn't have a look at the weekend, but the weekend looks to continue that as well. Saturday, widely mid-30s. The GEM going 34 degrees here, and we're saying it's potentially on the cooler side. So it could be 35, 36 there. And Sunday, very hot again, but slowly cooling down. You can see spots there of cooler temperatures. That's where we could start to see showers and thunderstorms break out. So in around 6 or 7 days' time. Uncertainty, as I said with this. Don't want to put dates on it yet, just because there is a lot of uncertainty exactly when we could see a breakdown, but still widely in the high 20s, potentially 30s, and by Monday, a lot cooler into the low 20s. Now, if we have a look at the GFS, see what that is showing today. Again, this afternoon, 28, 29 degrees, maybe a touching on 30. So pretty accurate to what we have seen today, similar to the UKV. Tomorrow, widely 29, 30, maybe even touching 31 degrees there. And by Wednesday for the peak temperatures, 30, 31, 32. Something we haven't actually spoken about is the overnight temperatures as well. They're not going to be as ridiculous as we saw in the middle of July with that heat wave, the record-breaking heat wave, all-time temperature record, highest overnight temperature ever as well. But it still is going to be high teens, low 20s. So it's going to be oppressive to sleep. You need the fans back out, things like that. And we are going to have to make sure people do try and keep the house cool in the day. It isn't going to be as ridiculous as that. It's maybe around 3-4 degrees widely cooler than that, but it still is very, very hot. And again, not low 20s widely, but in a few spots low 20s, widely high teens overnight temperatures. And then by Thursday, widely 33, 34, maybe even 35. And by Friday, we're seeing once again those temperatures into the mid-30s, 35, 36, and we wouldn't even be able to rule out a 37 there. And remember, previous to the last few years, our all-time temperature record was 38.1 degrees. So we are touching that temperature record multiple times in the last sort of 3, 4, 5 years. Ridiculous sort of conditions being seen. And again, Saturday, 37 degrees somewhere to the south of London. And for Sunday, still maybe 37 degrees is possible. And of course, these could always underdo it by a degree or two. We have seen that before. So you couldn't even rule out 38 or maybe even locally 39 degrees. Ridiculous conditions seeing here. And this is just from a general build of high pressure with warm air masses over Europe. The conditions we saw in July was a ridiculous southerly winds, big hot plume, because we have above average temperatures across North Africa, the Mediterranean, Iberia. This is generally just from a hot air mass coming in from the southwest. So this is sort of standard heat wave conditions, and you can see it is really going to be hotting up. And if we look at Monday, you can finally see those temperatures starting to cool down into the low 30s for many in the east, and by Tuesday it is much cooler for all, back into the low 20s. Now, if you do have a look at the pressure charts, have a look at the GFS, you can see high pressure building in at the moment. It doesn't look a particularly unusual chart. And into the middle of this week, high pressure just building in an easterly flow, and that's why in the eastern part of England it could be slightly cooler, and that's why the bullseye conditions, I think, are further westwards and southwards. And you can see by Friday, it doesn't look that hot of a chart. It looks just generally an easterly flow. Temperatures coming in off the continent. This time of year, you'd expect it to be pretty warm, pretty hot. But I wouldn't think mid-30s and into the weekend. Very similar before low pressure runs in. And this is why big signal around day 7 to day 10 now of low pressure running in, giving precipitation, at least in the north, perhaps even widely in the south as well. You can see potentially an ex-hurricane there, or an ex-tropical system at 384 hours, exiting out of northeast America. So that could put a spanner in the works in the longer term. I don't want to talk too much about that, because I doubt that system's even formed yet. But that is something we do need to keep an eye on in late summer into early autumn. The tropical systems are going to get going soon, and we may be putting some videos out on that soon as well. It's been very quiet so far, even though the forecast was above average. But of course, August, September, that's when we normally see the peak amount of storms, both in severity and in the number of them. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, because that could put a spanner in the works for the jet stream as well. That's something we need to keep an eye on. Now, if we do look at those upper air temperatures, as I said, it's not particularly unusual pressure charts, and you can see that here, not too unusual, but that warm air mass just builds and just continues pumping northwards, and eventually we do get a stream of very hot air. The 20-degree isotherm comes through in by Saturday, and we do eventually get some very hot air up from Africa as it just slowly wafts up in this high pressure system. Not a direct southerly like we saw in July, it just generally slowly moves up the high pressure system from Iberia and North Africa up towards the United Kingdom, eventually giving us our very, very hot end of this week and start of the weekend, in terms of that's where we're going to be seeing the peak temperatures before, as I said, as we head into next week, low pressure sweeps through, could be thundery before eventually things turn much more settled. Now, if you look at the GM, see how that does compare. Again, high pressure building in at the moment. Again, easterly flow before eventually low pressure tumbles in around next Monday, Tuesday time. And that centre of low is centred across southern England. So you know what that means? Rain, and we would be seeing rain widely there across many areas of the British Isles, not only in the north and west where we've seen average to even above average rainfall in some regions, but also the south, the southwest, the southeast, East Anglia and the Midlands, parts of Wales as well, where we have seen very, very minimal rain, and some areas have seen none at all. This chart here would produce an absolute soaking widely. Everywhere we'd be seeing at least 10 to 20 millimetres. I wouldn't be surprised with this sort of system. Again, it wouldn't save any drought conditions, but at least give us a little bit of respite for a week or so. So yeah, hopefully we do see something like that after this. Again, you look at the upper air temperatures with that, some warm air wrapped around within it, and it would be quite thundery with loads of areas of heavy precipitation. So if you are looking forward to some rain, do hope this GM chart comes off, where day 7 to day 10 it goes very unsettled, with that low just sitting across southern England would give a couple of days there of heavy showers and thunderstorms. Now, if you have a look at the ECMWF, see how that does compare. Again, high pressure building in at the moment, an easterly flow coming in, just continuing for eventually low pressure does run through. Not severe low pressure, as the GEM was making out to be across central southern England, but low pressure nonetheless, and would give some rain in the south, and also low pressure running into the north and west would give wide precipitation in the northwest of the British Isles. But to be honest, we don't really need the rain there, and we need these low pressures further southwards. So hopefully it still brings some precipitation in the south, but the severity of that precipitation, the widespread nature of it, and the longevity of it still yet to be determined, and that's why I'm not really going to be focusing on it until later this week, perhaps Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time. We'll start to have a very detailed look at the potential for this. Once the pressure charts start to look very similar, once we start to get a much better idea, then we'll start to have a look at precipitation charts, and then we'll have a look at CAPE, things like that, to forecast how heavy, widespread, and thundery any of these showers or areas of precipitation will be. So if you finish the video, but just have a look at the ensembles, you can see very hot over the next 5 days to the next week. We've been seeing this the last few days, and you can see still a bit of spread towards the weekend because it is still 5-6 days away exactly how hot it's going to get. You can see the GFS run there on the warmer end, still got a lot of support, and those will be the ones going toward the high 30s, 36 to 38 degrees. Others rocking still 15 degrees at 850 HPA or 1670, which would give temperatures more around that 34 degree mark. So still a bit of a range towards the weekend, but regardless, it still looks oppressively hot. Heatwave conditions widely into the mid 30s or low 30s at least. And then we see a big drop off. So it looks pretty much guaranteed between Sunday into Tuesday next week. That's when cooler conditions are coming in. Some ensemble members have it earlier on that Sunday, others have it later onto the Tuesday, but most around that sort of Monday area, and precipitation is coming as well, so hopefully we do see some rain. It does look likely those temperatures will be back towards average, and if we have a look at the sea level pressure, you can see a dip around the 17th, so in around 10 days, around 7 days time, so low pressure for London, and that would give precipitation, hopefully, some showers at least, maybe some thunderstorms before it does return back more towards sort of general average sea level pressure. So we'll just have to see what happens longer term, but for the time being, I said next 5 to 7 days, oppressively hot widely, then turning cooler, more unsettled, and thundery, generally rainy into the start of next working week. And if we just compare it to the ECMWF, again at the midnight run, again very similar, very hot over the next 7 days, not quite as hot towards the weekend on these ensemble members, but still getting towards the low teens, so still mid-30s, before we see that big drop in around a week's time. Quite a lot of precipitation here in the long term, something we do need to keep an eye on at this stage, but it generally looks like the upper temperatures are back towards average, so it looks very hot, as I said, in the next 7 days, so please do stay safe out there, but hopefully for the last sort of maybe 10 days, maybe 15 days of August, we could see some more widespread rain and some cooler conditions. I know some people really don't like that sort of stuff, especially in the school holidays and during summer, but I think given the very hot weather, the very dry conditions we've had over the past month plus, I do think it is very important now we do see some rain towards the second half of August, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we do see something here. So anyway, thanks for watching. Do stay safe out there the next week. Do look after vulnerable people and people around you. And I'll see you again for another video soon.